Boom, live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mad Red United. It is the Inter United podcast, Sunday night. Back finally on a Sunday night. How many times have we said that recently? It's constant Sunday football for United from this weekend onwards. So we've got to take these chances where we can and talk about something a little bit different other than what has just happened, which has been game after game after game. I've got Keane from the Weekly Armchair Podcast. I've got Mary, She Devils United, and I've got my man Saeed from United Central. You know it, people. Let's get into it. Tonight's show, we're going to be getting into the three main reasons that I think why it's all started to go wrong for United again. We're going to get the three of the guys and guests on and their opinions on what I've said, and if they want to add anything to it. We're going to finish the show with a little bit of I will see. I'll let you know when it comes to it. It's just a little bit different, as I always like to throw in now and then. And I just had a couple of questions. I just want to throw a couple of questions from the subscribers that they've sent me over and see what the panel think of them. So let's get into it. First of all, everyone in the comments, hello, welcome. Good to have you all with us here. Some familiar faces. And it was a familiar face, actually a member of mine, Domingo, who's always on, who asked the question. I'll come to the panel with it. Keane, I'll come to you first, mate. He's asked the question, Domingo. He says, let's face it, under Ole, honestly, hand on heart, which player or what players have improved? This could be anything, Keane, mate. You can go off mental, what they're doing stat-wise, how they're performing, how you've seen changes. So quickly, just hit it up with it, mate. I just want to get some questions answered from a lot of people who do drop a lot of questions. We don't always get a chance to. So for you, Keane, anyone improved under Ole that you've seen in his tenure?
When you look at the 2 years he's been in the job, you'd have to say Marcus Rashford. Now, I know, look, yesterday didn't have his best game, but when you look at over the 2 years he's been, since Ollie's been at the club, Marcus' goal tally has gone up. He's added more to his game. Now, the only thing he hasn't added is decision-making. I think he's still young. That could come with time. But Marcus will be one player I'd say has improved when you consider under Jose Mourinho. Jose, he stalled Rashford's development. Paul said there in the comments, Fred as well. He's someone who's improved too. He's been immense in this last kind of 18 months. But for me, if I had to say a standout performer in the 2 years under Ollie, would be Rashford. Even though, like in the last kind of couple of games, yes, these kind of momentum's kind of gone in the last kind of couple of games.
Yeah, Mary, for you, anyone else?
Fred. I mean, we were wondering why Jose signed him. Why did he cost 50 million? He wasn't getting a sniff initially under Ollie, and he's been one of our best players. I've said it enough times. Last season, before Bruno came in, he was our best player, and this season he's been right up there with Bruno and Rashford as our most consistent. Absolutely brilliant. And Martial last season, not this season, but last season definitely, because he was poor under Jose. Brilliant, magnificent. And I throw in Luke Shaw as well, because Luke Shaw has been superb this season.
Yeah, he's been class.
Got better. Saeed, mate, anyone different to the guys and girls?
You know what it is, it's kind of difficult to assess who's improved, because as Mary said, Martial last season and this season, I just believe it's not a case of improvement. I think what Ollie has done is given everyone the license to, express themselves. Like I said to you guys, I've never seen a group of players that I like, man. Jose Mourinho didn't like most of the players in there. Van Gaal, David Moyes, there was a few players in there that was like, should be playing. I give the one credit, he has, given a kind of a good morale of the squad. I would have to agree with maybe Fred, absolutely, because for me, Fred, I was like, what kind of a player is he? When I really, I think Newcastle game, people will remember when I was like, Fred, it's not the Ukrainian league. You know what I mean? It was like, I'll be honest with you, mate, it was like, what is this sort of player? But he has massively improved. And I give that to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I would say Luke Shaw. I think he's improved under Ole in terms of just getting that kind of, momentum, game time, and just that self-belief from Ole, get that. I think that's massive. It's difficult to say Greenwood and Martial because I feel like, it's like they're still inconsistent and they still were under Mourinho. So I just feel like, for me, it has to come within them one. And like Rashford decision making, has it improved? I just feel like for me, it's difficult to say have they improved because I feel like it's still developing. As much as Martial is 25, he's not done this before to be the main number 9. He's always been in and around the team, playing and not playing. I just feel like it's difficult to say people have improved, apart from the others of Fred, who were doubted by the fan base. Luke Shaw constantly doubted. It's difficult, but the main one's Fred and Shaw.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I can totally agree with that. Plenty of positives there as well, which is good to see. I like it. Yakov Bracho with the super chat. Cheers, mate. Can't stand all his mentality smiling after a 0-0. You know what? He was like that as a player. He was like that as a player. I don't think he can physically take the smile off his face. I don't know what it is with him, but you've got to give him some credit for seeing the brighter side of things all the time. But are results going to catch up with him in the end? We don't know. The season has still got a long way to go yet. We've seen Leicester drop points today. Liverpool looked like they were sharp in the second half, I've got to admit. That was a little bit of a worry. But they have got City next weekend. We just have to take care of ourselves, guys, and win our games. And you just don't know what happens. I didn't expect Leeds to beat Leicester, but they did well as well. And who knows what happens with City and Liverpool next week. Maybe a Liverpool win won't be a bad thing for us just to stop City in their tracks. But we all seem to be
That's the key, though, Adam. That's the key, Adam. Can we take care of ourselves? Forget anyone else. I don't think we can look after ourselves.
This is it.
Yeah, we can only worry about ourselves, yeah.
We're going to get bailed out by other results, no doubt. But at the end of it, it's going to come down to, can we do another run like we just went on, where we're winning 10 games out of 13? That's what's going to see you through to the end of the season. And I don't think anyone can predict where this team is going to be, come what may. And I think that's the biggest question. And I'll get into it now. We're going to go straight into the 3 reasons why I think things have actually gone a little bit south. But it is 1 game, 2 games maybe this week. But I've seen this coming for a few games recently now. And we sort of got what we've deserved over the last couple of games, in my opinion. And the first reason, I'll come to you first on this one side, mate. I think selfish forward play, because too many players are thinking of themselves and their own records at the moment. And that leads into decision-making. And that got brought up so much, especially over the last couple of games, especially with the likes of Rashford, Martial of recent time, to decision-make. They're under that much pressure now that I don't think they're thinking right. I don't think they're at the level of, I could easily slip this simple ball through. I could make the easier ball. I've got to show that I can still do it. And for me, it just comes into them thinking of themselves, and that is because of the pressure that's on them. I mean, that is one reason, mate, because we've seen it in all the games recently, mate. You can go back 5 or 6 games for me on this one.
Absolutely, mate. I think the decision-making has been Rashford's career, to be honest with you. Listen, I'm not gonna pull back what he's done this season. I think it's been one of our key performers this season. Without Rashford, probably, I don't know where we'd be in the league, him and Bruno. But I think it's getting a bit too much now, where decision making, everyone's a little bit of glory hunting going on. Is it a case of they're under that much pressure to still produce? There's still a lot of doubters of Rashford saying that, is he still good enough to be Man United's forward line, in terms of being that the longevity, long-term forward line. There's a bit of ones, and when you start to not put the performances, I feel like with Rashford, he's been getting the goals, but as he's been putting the performances with the goals, that's what I've been like, a bit like, hit and miss with that. And I feel like he's almost trying to do the perfect, when you can get the result and you can get the performance and the goals. He wants that, and I feel like you can't do that sometimes, man. And you have to just let it go naturally. And I feel like Rashford isn't doing that. We're not the most patient fan base in the world. We are a global fan base. The criticism, as you can see, as disgusting as it is, online or the social media, it's there to see, mate. And that's the problem. He wants to, silence the people that, doubters. He wants to do everything all at once. But I feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just tell him, you know what, man, just do you. Keep playing the way you've been playing, and the goals will come, the performance will come. But this is the modern era, though. Would you have seen Wayne Rooney doing that back in his day, rushing because fans think about him? I don't know. It comes with the right mentality. Rashford will learn that. He's still young, still. He has to learn that, and I feel like time will come for him to learn that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mary, right there behind you is the man himself, Roy Keane, and his comments after the game yesterday, I'm sure are ringing in a lot of people's heads. The word scared.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything Keane says, but I do understand what he's getting at there. It does look like this team is scared. Has that crept into the forwards' minds, thinking, I'm scared about what might be said afterwards, like Saeed said?
But it's not just that. Like for me, Martial, Cavani has come in, and we've seen this. And Martial's one of my favourite players. He was my player of the year last season. But he's sulking because Cavani has come in and taken his position. Yeah. And it was the same with Lukaku. It was the same with the number 9. It was the same when we brought in Zlatan. And I don't really, in a way, blame Martial, because certain players are different, because Tellez has egged Shaw on and it's made him. But Martial obviously doesn't have the same mentality and is no sulking. But for me, that's on Ollie. You take the player out. And yesterday, I mean, to bring him on as a sub was the wrong sub. And he had another poor game, obviously not as poor as Rashford, but as well, he's shoehorning Rashford on the right wing. You're shoehorning Pogba on the left wing. These players aren't wingers as well. They're not wingers. Rashford is technically a left inverted forward. Martial is a number 9. Greenwood is a number 9. So we don't have a winger either. And then their decision making is poor, because all they want to do is shoot all the time. They don't want to pass. They don't want to play in a player, because they're not wingers. They don't take the ball out on the flanks and cross it in. All they want to do is cut inside and shoot. So for me, like, Ollie needs to make a decision there. You take out the underperforming players. You also bring in a Diallo. You bring in actual wingers, and you bring them in, and you play the players as well in the right position. If you're not going to play Rashford left forward, then don't play him. If you're not going to play Pogba in the double pivot, or essentially don't play him. He's shoehorning them in, and like, strikers out as wingers, like, it works sometimes, but most of the time, like, we need a right winger desperately, for me.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Tim's in there with a chat. Keen mate, cheers, Tim. Adam, Element, Terry Dunfield. When we had Terry Dunfield, an ex-City youth team captain, he asked the question: are United ready for a player like Bruno? He cut a frustrated figure at full time yesterday. We and Tim both picked up on that. He just stormed straight off the pitch. Don't think he shook anyone's hands. He's disgusted. The winning mentality. That player, he's coming for stick from the numpties of the world. I'll call him that, because it's the only way you can slag someone like Bruno off, is by actually declaring yourself a numpty. That's the only way I can describe these people, or so-called fans. But are we ready for a player like Bruno Fernandes right now? Because it's good. Everyone has that honeymoon period at the start. It's great. But right now, it doesn't look like players are on the Pogba and Bruno wavelength in front of them in terms of our front line. Is that kind of really showing its teeth now as well, mate, for you, Keane?
Yeah, like, look, when you look at Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, if our front line could actually finish, they'd have a lot more assists. Like, they're producing so much in the last 2 months, both Pogba and Bruno, and they've been playing fantastically well. I think in the last couple of months, them two and Luke Shaw have been our best players. And when you look at them two, they've been providing so much going forward, playing key passes in key areas. And you've seen yesterday, our finishing was quite poor. And then when you consider, like, Bruno walking off the pitch and he wasn't happy, I can understand he didn't probably have the best of games yesterday, and he caught a frustrated figure, probably upset with himself and probably upset with the overall team performance as a whole. But I think, like, look, when you look at it, Man United, we're a big club. We should have big players. We should have players with big mentalities. We've always had that. Are we ready for a player like Bruno? I still say yeah, because I still think there's a lot of quality players in their team, like the Van de Beeks, like the Pogbas, around them who are on the same level as them. There is plenty of players in there who can be on the same level. I think just in front of them, maybe you need to get in a Sancho, maybe a Jack Grealish, maybe a Haaland. Though players that ilk who are quality and who can finish the half chance that maybe a Bruno or a Pogba can create for him. I think it's just, we have, apart from Cavani, like, when you look at and Greenwood, when you look at the rest of our forwards, they're not ice cold in front of goal. They need a couple of chances before they score a goal. So I think if we were to see, like, the best out of Pogba and the best out of Fernandes in terms of assists, we need to get quality in front of them to be putting these chances away.
Yeah, Fair enough, mate. Rashford looks injured every time he plays, says Jakov Bratcher. Cheers for the super chat, mate. This is it. This comes sort of into the next point. But before I bring up the second point of why I think it is not working at the moment, I mean, we've seen what Newcastle have done recently. I think Steve Bruce has bit the bullet and said, you know what? I need some help. I need some outside help.
Yep.
People not from inside my bubble. People who have experienced different levels of football, different types of coaching. You spoke about this plenty of times with Ferguson, what he used to do with his number twos. Is it becoming a little bit stale? Does he need a few new ideas? Because the only ideas he's got are the coaches he's got with him who have less experience. And then what Ollie's got. And some people say Ollie's not got a lot of experience. So, I mean, what's something like this? I mean, you can see, I say again, the honeymoon period, obviously Newcastle are riding the wave against Everton because they've got the fresh ideas right through the door. It looks good straight away. But is that something that you guys would think, I mean, saying, is it worth bringing in or looking elsewhere, freshening up the coaching staff? Because new ideas, it could. A lot of people are saying that this front line aren't being coached properly.
I think so massively. You know, I think we brought in Darren Fletcher, didn't we? You know, is he going to help? I'm not sure, mate. You know, the problem is, it's like we've got Kieran McKenna. He's managed under 18s. You know, sometimes I feel like he's got something about him, but I don't know what he's doing in the training ground because I don't really see anything that is done in a way where we look like the coach.
McKenna.
Is he a defensive coach? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then you've got Mike Phelan. For me, I think he's outdated. I think for me, he's had his day. No disrespect to what he's done for the club. You know what I mean? He's done massively. He's given us the best years he's had. He had that guy from Cardiff and Mulder. You're the one he got relegated with. You know, what does he do? I never see him do anything apart from hold up the ball to say who's getting subbed off. And let's be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? And then we got Michael Carrick. Absolutely lovely player in his day. And I think for me, he's still learning a job. We've almost given him a free course at Man United, mate. You know, literally, we've just given him work experience. And I just feel like for me, I might have my doubts about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think a lot of people have their doubts. But what I would respect him more if he had someone around him to coach, to say, you know what, I need help. You know, top clubs done that. Look at Jose Mourinho, the biggest coach of them all. He's got Sacramento, who did bits at I think it was Leon. You know, and still he needs help. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just don't know if Ollie, I don't know if he's stubborn. I don't know if he believes in himself that much and he thinks, you know what, I could do it on myself, but he needs help, man. You know what I mean? If Bruce can do it and they're bottom of the table, why can't we do it and we look like we're going to win the league, or we could be potentially on the road to kind of winning the league? You know what I mean? It just says it all, man. It says it all.
I mean, would you change anything up, Merrick, and fresh ideas? Is that a way forward for this team? Because, I mean, I don't know what else we can change, because I don't think the personnel on the pitch is going to change anytime soon in the current climate, Mary. I really don't. So are new ideas an option for us?
I don't think Ollie's going to do it, but at the end of the day, it probably cost him. Like, look at David Moyes. They said, don't change the coaching staff. He did it. He Evertonized it, and it cost him his job, because you're only as good as your number two. And for me, like, I just don't understand what. No disrespect to them, because he is a legend. But what does Michael Carrick do? What does Kieran McKenna do? Bringing in Darren Fletcher, I said it. Mates FC. What experienced coaches? Coaching-wise, did he have? None. Go out and get some of the best coaches in Europe. Like Saeed said, he lost Louis Faria and he lost it at Man United. And then he went and he got that forward attacking coach from the French league, and it really helped Spurs' attack. And why not bring Carlos Queiroz in? He got sacked recently from some job in Argentina. He's a good defensive coach. We struggle defensively, conceding goals all over the place. Bring him in. Renee Mullenstein is another one. Bring him in. Or if you don't want to bring former Man United men, go out and get some of the best in Europe, or Manchester United, and you have Mates FC running the show. I actually think it's ridiculous, to be honest. And if Ollie's inexperienced, then you bring in people. And it was fine to have Mike Phelan when it was just temporary. But the minute he got the permanent job, there's no way that coaching staff should have stayed. Absolutely not. He should have binned them and brought in proper, experienced, top-level coaches right now.
I mean, looking at it, Keane, mate, like Mary says, if you're bringing someone a bit more experienced in, then if it is a defensive coach, maybe instead of having a director of football, at least you've got an experienced coach who knows and what's needed in that area to bring in a player. Maybe recommend that to Ollie to then put pressure on for this player. Because let's not forget, Ollie has been given a lot of money to spend on that defence. He's been given probably one of the best keepers in the world as a number 2 as well in his time while he's been here, in Henderson as well now. We're talking hundreds of millions for our defence, mate. With a defensive coach like Mary said there, like a Carrick, who is defensively minded and good in that area, that sort of works in your favour, is to say, look, we need this type of player to make this defence work. For your attacking and your philosophy and your style of play, this defender would help in that side of it. I just don't think he's got enough balance in his staff at the moment. I think that may be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, it is. And like both Saeed and Mary hit the nail on the head. Like when you look even past Manchester United managers, like Sir Alex had surrounded himself with fantastic coaches. Like Fergie was all about the man management side. He never was hands-on in terms of coaching.
Yeah.
And he always had Carlos Queiroz. He always had Rennie Mullenstein, Steve McLaren. He also had back in the 90s as well. And then even look at other clubs as well, Adam. Like back when Arsenal were massively successful, Wenger was hands-on with coaching, but he had the likes of Steve Bold and the likes of them in there who also went in and helped him. Jose, back in the day, he had Andre Villas-Boas, Brendan Rodgers, the likes of them, and also Rui Faria, and the list goes on. When you look at all these top clubs and across the world, there's always a structure there in terms of a coaching staff to drill in all the certain things. And I think with Man United at the moment, what we're trying to do is hire all the kind of like former players, and because it's the quote-unquote Manchester United way. That was all well and good when you got the job on the interim basis, and it was all about the bedding in period and kind of getting the cobwebs of the Jose Mourinho era away. Like in terms of that was great at the time, but as soon as you get, as they said, when you get on the permanent basis, there should have been a director of football in place there, and there should have been a structure there to say that there's a style of play, and more importantly, that these players are coached. Because if we're going through a rebuild and you want to bring up young players, you need good coaches. It's simple as that. Like you can't be bringing up young players and not have good coaches, because they're not going to get better, are they? Do you know, like when you look at that perspective, there needs to be coaching and there needs to be structure there. But again, I think it all comes down to above them. Do they give him that director of football? Do they, put pressure on him to improve his coaching staff? And I think at the club as a whole, in that respect, there isn't a vision there, in that regard.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you couldn't put it any better there, Keane, mate. I mean, I could put that into one of the reasons. That wasn't even one I was going to bring up, but we pretty much brought up another reason there, guys, on its own, just through breaking down other issues. The next one I would have brought in, I mean, old habits creeping in. I can see this. It leads into my third point as well, but the old habits. And I'm talking here about habits that these players had under Jose Mourinho, under Van Gaal. The sideways crab passing, the gutless, I call it. Players on the pitch going missing, not wanting to take a chance anymore, not playing to their own strengths. If anything, these players should know what their strengths are and why they made it into the team in the first place. Why change? If this is what brought you on the scene, why all of a sudden has it changed? We can't keep saying that it's Ollie who's making these players worse. Sometimes these players have to play the way that, the way that they were brought up to play, with the intent that they came through to the first team in the first place. And I'm looking at it going, I can see so many elements of Van Gaal in that team yesterday in the way we played. It was horrible to watch. And people are saying, yeah, if we took these chances, this and that. I said, yeah, but to be honest, we were clinging on to one of maybe two good chances under Van Gaal. This is how it was. We needed to be clinical and beyond. Whereas when Ollie first came in and the runs that we've had in certain games, it's been, yes, we're missing a lot of chances, but I'd rather have them chances. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather be creating the chances in numbers. But, I mean, bad habits. Keane, I'll come to you first on this one, mate. I mean, have you noticed anything of this yourself in terms of what we used to be watching? I'm seeing it creep in every single week at the moment, mate. And it does look to me, again, it's like what Keane said. It looks like they're scared to make a challenge. Now they're really getting close to where we didn't expect them to be, but they are there now. So is that what we've got to accept? this is a team that is always going to be around about fourth in the league.
Yeah, I think when you look at the last couple of years under Van Gaal, under Mourinho, there was always that point where beyond a good run where we'd win a certain amount of games, and then when there's that next game to win that puts us in a very kind of strong position, we've never taken advantage of that post Sir Alex. And again, in the last 2 games, we've seen, though it rinse and repeat, it's happening again. Like when we looked at this week in total, when you see Sheffield United and see Arsenal, you're thinking 6 points there. Realistically, when you look at Arsenal's players they're missing, Sheffield United were also missing up to 9 first-team players within the matchday squad that day as well. People tend to forget that too. So, like, when you consider that, like, we bottled this week. There's no 2 ways about it. We bottled it, like. And when you look at now, Liverpool won this week. Like, they beat West Ham. Good performance by him. Man City scrub a win against Sheffield United when we couldn't do it. And again, the other teams below us who are looking to get up near us are all picking up points this week. This week was so important for United to get at least 4 points in the table. I know I said 6, but if you got 4, we would have been in a lot stronger position than we're in now. But again, it's old habits, sideways football, and against these low blocks, again, like when you have players who massively rely on pace, you're not going to break down a low block. Do you know that's the thing? When you're playing against a low block, you need to adapt. You need to utilize your creative players in more advanced positions to break the low block. Yeah. When you have players that rely on pace against a low block, it's going to be hard to break them down because their main attribute is pace. Do you know, like when you have a Rashford and Martial, they're not going to make that gilt-edged pass to break down a team. Like when you see yesterday when Arsenal played with that low block, that was an ideal situation for a Donny van de Beek to come into the team who can transition the ball quickly and link up with the likes of Bruno and a Pogba in midfield. And, you know, you break a team down. And then obviously the players who have that quick movement, they have the players behind them to put the ball on a play for them. But then, again, it just comes down to team selection and in-game management. And in the last 2 games, we haven't seen it.
Yeah, true. Very true. I mean, Mary, I hated the early days with Van Gaal. It was like as soon as we had our asses handed to us by Leicester, I remember at the Jamie Vardy game, the brilliant goal from Di Maria. As soon as he seen that happen to us, we just went into defensive mode from that moment. It's like whenever we have a bad result, it's like, okay, let's forget about everything that was good. Let's just make sure that nothing bad happens again. That's what I've seen creeping in a little bit. It's like, why does it have to be? Why can't we go out and just go, all right, let's not change the way we're playing? But it seems that every time we get a setback, it takes us a few games to get over it. And you know what? It wasn't even a massive setback. I don't think it needed this sort of outlook and this sort of approach to the game, in my opinion.
But for me, like Keane said, the players, the bottlers. But Ollie is, for me, showing he's a bottler this week. Absolutely. Because to go out and play McFred and then the players too late in the game to make the substitutes. He's afraid to change the game early on. We could all see, I could see a half time yesterday we were never going to score. And I was saying, change it. Bring on Donny, bring on Juan Mata, the intelligent players to link up with Bruno to create space. And because like Keane said, you're playing quick players when people are playing low blocks, forget about it. And we've seen this under Ollie. He plays one way and that's the way he plays. And if a team sets up defensively, we can't break them down. And he showed yesterday and against Sheffield United, I think it was more the players, but because we had the setback, he bottled it then yesterday. And Arsenal, this is the worst Arsenal team I have seen for 30 years. Even if they had Saka, Aubameyang and Tierney, they are awful. And Ollie hasn't beaten them in the last 5-6 games. He hasn't beaten Arsenal as Man United manager because we've seen him, plays defensive against the big 6 this season. Last season, we were hammering him, but this season now he's regressing because he's afraid. He's bottling it. He doesn't want to lose his job. He's going out to not lose rather than to win. And that's not Man United. I don't want that from my manager. You know, as much as we were top of the league and we're only a couple of points off, get out. Forget about it. If you're not going to go out to win and you're scared and you won't make subs early, and you're giving players 10 minutes and then you're taking off like for like. So you're taking off Rashford and bringing on Greenwood. And it's the same situation. Instead of bringing on a Donny, bringing on a Mata, bringing on someone with the intelligence who can create chances. it's just it's bottling from Ollie, because it's not just the players, and I think that's coming from Ollie and it's seeping into the team, and it's 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, because like that we've seen it under Van Gaal, under Jose. Anytime you get in any sort of, like Keane said it, we're scared, we're now in a tight race and we're afraid, and that comes from the manager for me.
Side mate, can you see it? Can you see these old habits creeping in again?
Well, I'm not gonna say I told you so, but I've seen it for the last year and a bit. Do you know what I mean? And that's why for me, I've never kind of I've always said for this season, I'm gonna back him to the end of the season, and I'm gonna see how it goes. There's no point really me like shouting for another manager when he's there to the end of the season, and I've just always noticed is for me his habits have always been there, and it's crazy to think, Adam, we predicted 0-0, didn't we? You know,
yeah, no,
on the preview Friday, I said boring 0-0, and then people were like, "But you got to be positive." I said, "No, because this is what Ollie does." And Mary's right. For me, I thought it was coward last night. You know, I think some of his play was a bit cowardish. You know, I thought, 1-0 Brighton. By the way, you know what I mean? You know, we could have Jose Mourinho. Could have Jose Mourinho.
I can hear the cheers in the
background.
I know,
man.
Harry Kane's gone. Jose's plans out the window.
That's it, exactly.
Well, I'm a couple of seconds behind. Did they score? Did they?
Yeah. Scored. Trossard scored. Good goal, by the way. But I think for me, favoritism, lack of idea, still lack of a system. You know, today Liverpool had no defenders and they beat a West Ham team unbeaten in 5. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's for me, it's still naive. It's still naive coaching. You know, he never changes it around. You know, Van der Beek, Mata, not even in the squad, guys. Mata, not even in the squad. You know, Daniel James, listen to me, guys, Do we think he's unbelievable? No. But why just not change it around?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, just try something. You don't know if if Dan James is pacing behind, could be the reason why we might have won last night. You never know. You've got to back your players. If they're in the squad, you've got to back them. There's no point keeping Dan James. We should have just sent him out alone then. You know, he said he wanted Brandon Williams yesterday. He said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says, I don't want Brandon Williams alone, but he's not in the matchday squad. What is it do you want then, mate? What do you want, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I don't understand, mate, you know. And for me, that's the reason why I just feel like we're going to be falling short again this season. And of course, you guys don't realize this, but we've still got Europa League coming up.
That's a big factor.
Sunday. What is he going to do? Because for me, he can't do both. You've got to focus on one, mate. And if he starts putting his best team out in 1 week and then doing the same thing on a Sunday when one team has one fresh week off, then I feel like for me, it will just keep going on and on. And that's the problem, mate. That's the problem.
That's it. I mean, you've all pretty much absolutely nailed it there. You're all on fire tonight, I must say. Something angry over the weekend, guys, by any chance?
I don't know, mate. It's just... I feel like everyone's feeling this right now. I think, you know, I've never seen a fan base so frustrated last night, you know, because it's just not going for it.
Everyone in the chat says,
I didn't have my phone on after the game.
Sorry, Keane, mate. I'm totally interrupting you there, pal, but I'm after people giving the video a like because, you know, it's all about honest opinions. Smash that like button, guys. We're well over 300 in the room right now, so let's get at it. Get the likes up, people. Paul, get at it, mate. Anyway, on to reason 3. Someone did just touch on the style of play there. I'll get onto that in a minute. But I feel like our big players now are being dragged down to the standards that we just discussed there on the previous topic. That's the problem. We turn players that came to the club, and this comes in to the same reason that I just said there in terms of old habits coming in. Why do these good players come in? We can see what they're made of, and then they just drop down onto the level that the others are playing at. And whether it's Ollie not making the right changes, like you guys said, bringing on clever players to link up with Pogba and Bruno, Rashford and Martial aren't doing it at the moment. Why can't we just change this personnel up and just play a little bit different? But I'm seeing the likes of Bruno dropping standards now. People have been slaughtering the guy for weeks, saying his passing's rubbish. Well, I think it was about 91%.
Yeah.
And he was crap. So there you go. You got what you asked for. Sideways crap football gets you boring draws and no goals, people. Risk and reward football is what Bruno is about. And when you take that away from him, you see the frustrations that came yesterday. It just seems like, I mean, Said, I'll come to you first on this one. It looks like we've seen the best of Pogba recently, but how much more and how longer can these players hold the team up for? That's the problem. Because eventually, mate, you're just going to look around and go, I can't keep playing this passive. He's not going to be there.
Absolutely, mate. And for me, when people talk about individual brilliance and we're still moments FC, I think even Gary Neville touched on it last night. We're still waiting for the moments. We're not. It's not like the way Arsenal played. You can see a pattern of play of, they play out from the back. They use Partey in the kind of defensive midfield role. He opens up the space. They pass it into Smith Rowe. The amount of times we've got split open our midfield was unbelievable, mate. And for me, it just shows again a lack of system in the whole team, mate. Because we're still relying on people to move it up the pitch. I still think Fred and McTominay, when they were there, were still deep. I think second half Paul Pogba was fairly anonymous. I couldn't really see him playing. What was the game plan then? Was it just to keep it simple? Don't really go forward. Let's not concede a goal. Let's not lose the game. And the mentality drips into the whole team, mate. And then Bruno Fernandes can't do it on his own. As much as we rate Bruno Fernandes, and a lot of people use him as I'd say he's a flop in the top 6, but what can he do? What can he do though? Like seriously, when the system of Oli is to not concede and it's very, very static and everyone else is very, very static, what can Bruno Fernandes do? You can't perform miracles in this team, mate. So I just feel like, there's a lot of people trying too hard, When you realise that Wan-Bissaka is doing what Ashley Young used to do for the last 2 years of that right-hand side being vacated and it's only Wan-Bissaka going forward, then you realise it's a big problem. And I've seen that under Mourinho when Ashley Young used to do it, and he used to give me nightmares because I was like, oh, please not Ashley Young. And it's now Wan-Bissaka. And I know he did a perfect cross for Cavani, but it's not the point, though. It's not. We don't want to see him there. We need a right winger to do that. And Rashford certainly is a right winger. But what Ollie's doing is putting him on the right so that he can accommodate a system where it's very, very compact on the left so Pogba can track back. Track back. Is this what Man United are in a minute? Tracking back Paul Pogba on the left-hand side. For me, it's cowardly. It's cowardly football. And I feel like you're never going to get anywhere with that, mate. You really, really aren't going to get anywhere.
Mary, I mean, we don't want him to, like I've said it a few times on this video alone already. It's like, remember why we bought you. What attracted this club to sign you? It just seems to disappear. Is this the club? Is this the club mentality at the moment of where we've at the last decade that's sort of saying to these players, this isn't the United that you thought you were signing for? Because I just don't see anyone accepting the drop in standards as a bad thing. I don't understand it myself, but I mean, I'm here to be corrected. I just don't see how we can allow the standards to drop this far in terms of, we have to keep safe. We have to shut up shots sometimes, but my God, not every game, surely.
And it seems to be every game against the big teams. I mean, people slating Bruno, but Saeed touched on it. 0-0 against Liverpool in the league, 0-0 against City, 0-0 against Arsenal and Chelsea. How is he supposed to do anything when it's negative tactics, when it's two defensive midfielders, when barely anyone's getting forward, no one's making runs, and then when the players do get forward, they can't the forward play yesterday was dreadful. I mean, Rashford kept giving the ball away. Cavani missed 2 great chances. But I mean, like Said said, Pogba was anonymous. Bruno, really no one was making runs. No one was getting into space. They were basically passing. Marcel was passing the ball to the Arsenal players. The forward play was dreadful. Besides the 2 chances created for Cavani. So Bruno can't do it by himself. You just only have, he's not doing it against the top 6, but none of the players are, because we scored 1 goal against Spurs. That was Bruno and a penalty. And the mentality of this Man United team, but that comes from the top, that comes from the board. Have we even been in a title race the last 7 years, 8 years? No. And that comes from the top. So the mentality has definitely dropped. Standards have definitely dropped. Look at some of the state of the players we signed. Di Maria was dreadful. Half of these players came for money. They didn't come here to win things. They didn't come here. They came for money. And that was, look, Alexis Sanchez, another one. flops, and that was from the board. No one had that until Bruno, that elite mentality, and now it's basically been sucked out of him, because besides Shaw and Pogba recently, no one else seems to be there. They've reverted to type, and it's a sad state of affairs. And I can see us really now struggling for top 4, to be honest.
Yeah, key mate. Mary nailed it there. Top to bottom, standards seem to be dropping. We've all been well aware of that. The thing is, I don't see the club being in a position. I think they've pissed all the chips away, mate. To be honest, in terms of what money they've got to spend, I think we blew it on previous managers. I don't think Ollie is going to get as much as what he needs in the next window. I really don't. And it's coming down to it now. It's like, okay, do we have to accept that this is where we are right now? This is the problem I've got, and a lot of fans will say it there. I understand what Robert Anderson's saying there. We're on a great away run at the moment. It's fantastic. But every time we get a slip, and like I keep saying, mate, why do we have to automatically go back down into second gear again? Just because we've had a 1 or 2 bad results. I don't think that mentality is going to work ultimately in the end.
No, it's not. Like, if you want to win the league, you need to be consistent, and you need to be like, when the teams around you, when you look at Cities and Liverpools, they're going to be hitting max numbers every week. So you need to be consistent. We showed over a 13-game run that we could do that, but then as soon as the pressure is on, like, we seem to falter. And it seems like when the pressure is on to get that result, and if we get a draw or a loss in the previous game, we'll go back to 2 holding midfielders, and it'll just, again, it's. I don't want to like be overly criticizing them, but you kind of have to, like, because when you consider this team and the quality attacking players we have, we should not be playing a defensive system, especially against a team like Arsenal, which, as Mary said at the top of the show, is one of the worst Arsenal teams in years. And they were missing 3 first-team players yesterday. Even if them players were playing yesterday, you still go there and you attack, because man for man, Man United have a better team than Arsenal. Even with their 3 players out, right? Take coaches out of the situation for a second. Man United have a better team than them. We should be beating them all day. But then to go there with the players they had out, and then still to go there with a kind of defensive mentality, it just doesn't sit right in me, because of the quality we have. And when you talk about Bruno Fernandes, like, again, as both Said and Mary said, and they both hit the nail on the head, when you play a defensive system, you're not going to, reap the rewards from having a world-class player like Bruno Fernandes in the team, because, again, he doesn't have runners around them. The team is in their own half. Like, what do you expect Bruno to do? Like, as Adam, you said as well, he's a player who relies on kind of full-flowing, free-flowing, heavy metal football, where we're on the opposite end of the pitch, and we're drilling the back 4. When you play a defensive system, you're not going to reap the rewards of having a Bruno Fernandes. And this is the same with any attacking midfielder. You could say a Grealish, you could say a Kevin De Bruyne, you could say any of these players. They'd be the exact same if they're in the defensive system. You would not see the best of them players. So, look, when you consider Man United's system and in these bigger games, there has to be a bit more ambition. I think ambition is the key word here, because with the quality of players we have, we need to be more ambitious in our approach.
Yeah. Mate, 100% agree. I mean, it just takes me on to the next point. I mean, they're the main 3 reasons I see it being an issue at the moment. You guys have just added more to it there and opened up a couple of other conversations, which will probably come another time. But yeah, I mean, I understand the positives, guys. We're not getting into all the doom and gloom about this. It's just I don't think we should accept that we have to drop down to a defensive sort of performance because we have a slip up. Do you know what I mean? We got to where we got to playing a certain way, so why change it? It riles me, and I think it's just the wrong sort of mentality going forward for this club. I think we're better than that. I feel like that's a positive, to be honest, going forward. I expect more from these players because they've shown a bit more at the start of the season, the great run they've been on. I mean, no one's had a better away record than what we've made this season, so why drop? Why go back to something that wasn't working all of a sudden? Because this is what we're doing. That's how I see it. But, I mean, style of play definitely is an issue for me. I think we should just find a style of play and build players into this style of play that make it work. I mean, Bielsa gets a lot of stick for doing it, but if he stays in the Premier League, they've got new investment coming in at Leeds. If you start feeding a manager with a certain philosophy and a style of play the right money, because that's what Leeds will get if they manage to stay in the league, which I think they will now, then you can adapt the signings to that style of play and buy the right players because he's got the right team and coaching staff and setup working there. And yeah, he's going to get beat every now and then. But can you imagine if you give him a bit more money each season, the progression will steadily go up. I think that's what we need to find. Style of play is a major issue I've got right now because I still can't see it. I mean, Mary, how are we playing? I don't know. I don't know what it is apart from counter-attacking sometimes. Which
That's what it is.
That is all it is, exactly.
That is what it is, counter-attack, and you let them come on to us and catch them on the break. And if they sit behind the ball, we have absolutely zero answer unless we get a lucky goal or a moment of magic, and that's it, we can't create. And then it doesn't help that he doesn't pick the creative players against teams that sit back and defend. Like, what we knew Sheffield United were going to do that. And they were playing our game because they were catching us on the counter. So why didn't we play Donny or Amada against the team instead of playing like players with speed? It made absolutely no sense. And again, he didn't change it until it was too late. And then they'd never looked up for it either in that game. It was dreadful. But it's it's the same tack. He's no plan B other than either hoof it. And he's now starting to play this weird play out from the back, and we don't have the player. I mean, Harry Maguire and Lindelof to play out from the back. Get out. What are you doing? I mean, Fred and Pogba, yeah, but absolutely Shaw is decent at it. But they look like, and we saw it in the second goal against Sheffield United, De Gea, Telles, Harry Maguire absolutely made shambles of it, and we conceded. And no, we had it was like pinball, loads of chances to clear the ball. But these stupid tactics, put your foot through the ball and clear it instead of trying to play intricate out from the back, stupid tactics. You know, it's just, for me, it's counter-attack in football, and we have no other plan B. And then, I mean, Ollie even said before yesterday's game, we've practiced crosses when Wan-Bissaka had one cross, Luke Shaw had one cross, nobody else crossed in the ball. And then he said, we're going to try and play a high line with Lindelof and Maguire. Who is he trying to? He says these things and then does the complete opposite on the pitch. So for me, it just, like, he baffles me, because unless you're going to play by, there's no high line, because you have the two DMs and then you have the two snails, and then you're trying to play out from the back, which, I mean, it's just, we play counter-attack. And for me, that's not Man United either. We need to be playing on the front foot, attacking football with wingers, with speed, with urgency and a quick tempo. I rarely see that. It's besides that Leeds game, and that was because they were so open, which helped us.
Yeah. Hey, side mate, is it just a case of play to your strengths?
I'm thinking, what strengths have we got, mate? Because the one thing we've got, you know what I mean, in terms of pace, it's not being used right now, you know, because Rashford is playing on the right-hand side. And that's the problem, mate, you know. It's a case of, even when you look at the game against Southampton coming up, mate, I'm worried because Southampton, for me, were unlucky against Aston Villa. They've absolutely outplayed them. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, you know,
destroyed them again, mate.
I know. And I feel like, for me, that system, 4-4-2, Danny Ings up front, they will cause us problems because they have a system, and it's up to us to break them down. And I feel like every team we play this season, and we've got a win, it's like, you know, I'm not saying majority, but majority of the big games, they've come on to us, like the Leeds game, you know, what's it called? Leipzig game. Them kind of game. Yeah, exactly. They came on to us and wanted to play football. You play football against Man United, we'll probably beat you. But against the teams that sit back now, and they've realised what Ollie's about. That game, for me, yesterday, was very, very naive from Ollie. To almost like, you know, Arteta to know his formation from the get-go. For every fan to know his formation from the get-go. That should never happen in football. Never. Unless...
One thing that shouldn't happen is me, you, and the Think Stat Man yesterday call the exact team and scoreline out before it happens. We knew. We called out both, mate. It was big, wasn't it? But we sort of knew what was coming in a weird way. It's crazy.
You can't do that in football. We cannot have that in football, guys. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, for me, when you look at it, the more we do, the more this season goes on, maybe Ollie might get found out because we know what his style of play is, or the lack of style of play is. You know, we'll be so like predictable now. I don't want Man United to be predictable. But we know that now. McTominay, Fred, okay, Lindelof, Maguire, you know, Rashford maybe on the left. Okay, Martial and Cavani, they're still not firing both of them, even though Cavani looks a bit better right now. But still, They'll have missed chances. You know what I mean? It's very, very all of a sudden, it went from unbelievable. We're at the, with 2021, all this nonsense, to now we're predictable. It's crazy how football works, isn't it?
Crazy, mate. It is. Keen, mate. Bella Visual. Sorry, I get crap with names. Sorry, guys. It's my fault. It's my fault. Flaw that I've got. I have a light form of dyslexia. I'm just going to tell you as it is. Players ain't good enough. We don't even have players to even play counter-attack. Keen. Football, Rashford, garbage. Martial needs to move on for his career. I mean, it's like Said said then. Rashford only plays good on the left. Martial, useless on the right, as is probably Rashford. But Ole has to play these guys. Why not play a player who likes to play on the right wing, mate? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? Like we're shoehorning players into the team just to get all the players into the same team, because obviously you're again, it comes back to playing two holding midfielders. That's what it comes down to, like that we're playing two defensive-minded players in the team, and McTominay and Fred, when really you should be playing one of them. And then like you drop Pogba back in there, and then you have a solution. You play Rashford in his best position. And from watching the 23s game yesterday, we could have a very solid right winger in Diallo. Like seeing him yesterday, like I remember at one point he had about 5 Liverpool players in the corner, and they didn't know what to do with him. And his like balance and composure, you can see why United signed him. But obviously, look, he's a very young player. There's a lot of time before I'd say we see him. Like we have to be very, very patient with that. But I think in the pipeline, you will see Diallo on the right, and maybe you will see Mason Greenwood go into that number 9 role as well, because I think that's a position I think we definitely need to address, and I think Mason has the quality to play up there. But again, as we come back to it, it's just again we're shoehorning players into the team just for the sake of getting them in there. But then again, it's hindering the system and the patterns of play. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. And again, it's a simple change. You take out one of the defensive midfielders, you play a Pogba in there, then you get the best out of him, you get the best out of Fernandes, and Rashford plays on the left. And if you had a solid right winger, then do you know what I mean? Then there's a system, then there's a style of play. We dominate the ball if we play a Bruno and a Pogba in there, because we have 2 creative midfielders who can retain possession and, also create chances. And then you have a Donny in there who can change the aspect of the way we play altogether, in terms of his intricate passing and picking up the balls in the little pockets of space. So again, we're not utilising the personnel we have. And look, it's hindering us in these type of games when we're playing against low blocks. Yeah,
true, mate. It's very true. Daniel Quibolo that says, simple for United, best 11. Simply not good enough. Nowhere near good enough to win the Premier League. Probably true, mate. Probably true. But you know what? We got there at one point this season, and it hasn't been an horrendous season. Keane just touched on it there on Diallo coming in. I always said, look, don't get too hyped. You might not be ready for the first team, but a good sign is for a player to come in and make a massive impact like he belongs out and at a better level in the 23s. Definitely comes in, but Said just touched on it then. Palestri had a good start, and now he's gone out on loan again. So we're not going to see him until next season, if at all. People have been saying, let's get him. But it is what it is. Guys, we're going to finish the show today and celebrate another waste of a transfer window, apart from a few players going out on loan for United. It's finally over. What are United in January transfer windows? I think Bruno was the best one we ever had. But to finish it off, I'm just going to come to each one of you and just say your worst transfer saga for Manchester United. And it can't be a player that we signed either. It was one that we didn't get. And there's some obvious ones, guys. There really is. Guys, in the comments as well, to finish off, hit me up with your worst transfer saga. The one that just did your head in. The one that absolutely riled you. There's loads. And it can't be a player that we eventually got either. It's one that didn't happen. Who wants to go first on this one? I know you're all thinking. Keane's ready.
Keane is ready.
Go on, Keane. Go on. Keane, fire away, mate.
Wesley Sneijder. That transfer saga dragged on for years. And he was the man to replace Paul Scholes. Like, do you know what I mean? At that time, like Sneijder was one of the best midfielders in the world. And he do you know what I mean? At Inter Milan, he was fantastic. And weren't there meant to be supposed medicals done and everything at that time, and he was on his way to United
mate.
how many summers in a row?
Yeah.
Like again, that was dragged out, and that's a player I think Man United in terms of midfield players, especially towards the end of Fergie's era, we kind of had an average midfield. He would have been someone who would have slotted in there, and he would have been a fantastic midfield player. So it's Wesley Sneijder for me.
Sneijder. Said, mate, what was yours, pal?
Mine's got to be probably the biggest one ever, mate. Nicholas Gaitan. Bloody hell, mate.
I knew someone had to bring it up, mate.
Yeah,
man.
man.
Season after season.
Every year, mate. Every single year. Nicholas Gaitan. Nico Gaitan. Nico. Bloody hell, man.
Yeah.
I did it for that name, mate.
Is he even real in the end? That's what we're all saying.
Bloody hell, mate. I'll tell you what, man. He probably was. But yeah, Gaitan.
He must have been flying with Ryanair because his flight is still delayed.
Yeah. Must be, mate.
Oh, there's some great ones in the comments there. I'll come to them in a minute. But Mary, what's your standout transfer saga? The one that just dragged on and didn't happen?
Fabregas,
David
Thiago, and Leighton Baines in that Moy season, and then to end up with bloody Fellaini.
The headline. Remember the headline? Was it Ed Woodward is flying back to Manchester to take an urgent transfer
from Australia. I'm still waiting for that because I never saw anything. And I do want to shout out, even though we did eventually sign him, but it was an absolute what the hell moment. That time we sent the guys with the briefcases to Ander Herrera. What the hell was that? We didn't sign him until the following season. That was absolute madness. And one from the opposite side was the De Gea one with the fax machine to Real Madrid. That was a complete another farce.
That was funny. There's some absolute doozies in there. Gazo definitely was in there. Ronaldinho, my God, man, that was the summer that. You know what? We got to look at the silver lining with that one. We got Ronnie from not getting. If we signed Ronaldinho, we would have never had the best player that's walked the planet in recent years in Ronaldo. That's so crazy how that happened and how it came about. Absolutely mental. But yeah, Alan Shearer definitely was number one.
The Jude Bellingham one recently as well. I mean, we showed him around Carrington, and we were thinking, and Fergie was down there. We were thinking we were going to get him, and he ended up with Dortmund. It was just an embarrassment.
Perisic, Fabregas again. You could bring Bale into that one. My God, Ramos has been there. A few people. Robin. You know what I mean?
Benatia. Yeah. Remember Benatia went
Jim White on
Jim White. He's signing. He's on a helicopter. He's on the helicopter.
Yeah. Oh God, that was it was embarrassing. Yeah, the Thiago one again. Hector Rico then on one you said there, Mary. Gaitan is the epic one, isn't it? I think Gaitan takes the.
Someone said Griezmann. That was when he said he was going to go to Man United in that interview. That was
Oh yeah, his brother as well. He tweeted his brother said Man United, didn't he?
Yeah.
He looked at Sancho on recently.
Sancho definitely, mate. I mean, that was a full summer, wasn't it? It literally was from start to finish. That one, it was ridiculous. But
and it's still not over.
No, it's still not over. So you can say that one could be the Dalai Lama of all of them, really, in the end. But yeah, that's it. At least we don't have to worry about transfers now. It's done for another. Well, until the summertime anyway. When this season finishes, we're going to know exactly who we need. I think we all know the positions we need them in right now. But we'll
see. We get top four, though. If we don't get top four, bloody hell, mate.
I think if we don't get top four, we're going to see Ollie next season. I don't think. No. I really don't. I mean, it's been the same for all managers. I don't see it changing because it's Ollie. Top four is an essential, especially in the current climate where it is probably the one big revenue stream without fans at the moment. The Glazers ain't going to think of anything sentimental when it comes to Ollie being a legend of the club when they're not getting any money in. When it was there for the taking top four, and it is, and I still think we are going to comfortably get it. But if that doesn't go for Ollie, then I don't think he's got any excuse. This is the season he's going to be judged. I think he will come through in the end, and then we'll see what happens in the summer. But for now, guys, that is it. The show is over. I just want to quickly go around the guys. I've already shouted out, but just go through your socials again. Keen, hit me up with yours first, please, mate.
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter at Keen_United if you want to see me bantering rival fans on a weekly basis. And you can also catch me on the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We cover all things Manchester United over there.
Sweet. Mary, She Devils United.
She Devils United, we're live at 9 for a preview of the Southampton game.
9, love it. And Saeed, mate.
Yeah, man, United Central on YouTube. Find me on there, man. But thanks for having me, guys. Every time.
Incoming for Saeed. Get on it, people. Guys, that is it. We're all done and dusted. Thanks to the mods, all the members in the comments, super chatters, and good chat as well tonight. It was bang on, guys. There was loads of conversation in there tonight. Thank you very much. We will be back. I will be back. Don't forget, I was going to put up a video of a behind the scenes. I haven't finished clipping it all together yet in terms of what match days are actually like right now. So that is coming probably tomorrow on the channel. We're going to be back again. Obviously, there's more games coming thick and fast. 2 games a week, people.
2 games a week now.
Take care. Go and watch Spurs get beaten. See Jose's face. It will cheer you up no end, I promise. Fingers crossed. Guys, we're out of here. See you later. Bye-bye.